This is a first. I sat down to create this incredible episode of Podcasting Genius, and my theme tonight was to explore self-deprecation. Now, I've been shaming and being very hard on myself, what I think is very funny when people do it. I was at my mother's 80th birthday, an incredible celebration of her beautiful life, one of seven children. I'm one of them. We all celebrated this incredible life of hers. And at around 2:30 in the morning, extremely drunk, we got to the podcast, and my oldest sister said, "You're too hard on yourself. I want you to stop being so hard on yourself. Like, celebrate your wins, you know?" And I said, "You're damn right I'm going to celebrate my wins." And so I was thinking about that, and the irony is I'm going to celebrate my wins, but I'm going to do it by being self-deprecating. So every single comedian I've ever listened to, usually I would say 95% of them start with some self-deprecation. Of course, there are people like Anthony Jeselnik, who have this persona of like the hyper-cocky misanthrope. But barring me walking out like Dr. Rick, which is an old movie I did, is like the biggest cocky douchebag on earth, I think generally starting with something that's funny about how you look, sound, what you do, puts the audience at ease, because it's like, okay, this guy's laughing at himself. It's okay to laugh at him too. The problem, of course, is that there's so much, it's so hard to find anything that's wrong with me. So I'm bringing my wife up. I've just called her. I just texted her, and she is coming up to tell me what I can use, what my weaknesses are. Because if you're married, you know that no one knows you better. No one knows all the shit that's churning through your brain better than the person that you have vowed to spend your life with. They know every side. So I cannot wait to hear about... I am inviting my wife to tear me to shreds in public. Please stand by.
Oh man, that's rubbish! That's rubbish!
So I have you on the podcast, Majandra, because I'm having a really hard time figuring out what's wrong with me, that I can make fun of.
What a way to start. You can't find faults?
None.
Oh my God.
And so I've been like, for 7 months, I've been journaling and being like, trying to answer the question, what are my faults? And I can't come up with any.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you clearly don't listen to the podcast.
You've come to the right place.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so is that what you need from me? Is a list of your faults?
So I had this eureka moment as I sat down to record this stormy Wednesday night, and it's the podcast is coming out in a few hours. And we like to fly by the seat of our pants here at Starting Stand Up. And so I sent up the wife signal, and it was really wonderful how quickly you answered.
Well, you were like, "Can you come here and point out my flaws?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Can I come right now?"
Yeah, you really were. You looked so excited.
Yeah.
So here we go. First of all, do you think I'm likable?
Is that in your question? Wow. Are all the questions going to be like fishing questions? Do you think I'm handsome?
Scale of 1 to 10. How good looking
exactly.
do you think? Do you think I'm likable? Do you think I'm funny? Do you love me?
Okay, are you asking these questions? What's happening?
Do you still love me?
Oh my God.
Okay, here we go. You have never seen me do stand-up. You have never listened to the podcast because it's too uncomfortable, which I understand.
First of all, correction. You have asked me not to go watch you do stand-up.
Correct.
And you even we have a very dear friend in common who is the reason I'm surrounded by all this beautiful art in the room I'm in.
Kevin Christie.
And he even by accident sent me footage of you doing stand-up, and you asked immediately that I not watch it.
I felt shame.
correct. My point is
I had
that
a
you're
good friend whose
encouraging me
wife
not
almost divorced him after
watch.
hearing his stand-up.
because it was bad.
Yeah, because it's like completely changes the person. I think they were dating, but it was it's someone you know. I won't reveal him, but basically he was early in his career. He had just started dating this girl, and he really wanted to be a stand-up, and he brought her to a show, and he could see from
Okay,
her eyes.
is
and
he
face.
married to her now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
it's a
what
happy
does
ending.
she do? Is she in the biz?
No,
the show biz.
no,
Exactly.
no.
So I think that's a different thing.
Yeah, right. You're used to me making a complete fool of myself and doing shameful things. So what you're saying is it shouldn't be that big a deal.
Also, just stand up is a holy grail of like balls.
Right.
So it's held to a different standard in this home.
Yes. Yeah, you did. When I first said I was doing it, you did respect it. You started to respect me as a human for the first time. So tell me, not knowing what I'm already like, do you have any ideas of what my persona should be, and what are the areas in which I could poke fun at myself up there?
I think, and this is tough because it's layered.
Sure is.
I think one of the things that's so amusing about you that made you stand out to me was your obsession with being likable, completely juxtaposed with this like cruelty, like in a funny way. Like you have this 80s villain side to you that's quite funny in my opinion, especially when you're in tennis whites.
Sure.
It's exactly Lena Dunham, the great Lena Dunham, was quoted making this observation about you.
Oh, wow.
She said, I have never, and this is, not the exact words, but it was, I've never seen someone say such douchey things and make them likable.
Oh, thank you, Lena. I remember that. I was on the show Bent, and I played kind of a arrogant. He was a good guy, but I guess Lena liked the show. I believe she said she wanted to marry me.
I said, you can have him.
You did, actually. Didn't you tweet her?
I'm not sure if it was Bent. Maybe she was a Fired Up fan, David.
No, it was Bent.
But yeah, I think that's what's so funny about you is how, like, just double popped collar, douchey guy. One of your best friends.
What is your definition of a douchebag? Let's start there. Because there's many different ones, and you often have different definitions of words than me.
Well, that's like a very douchey thing to say right there. I would say a douchebag, your brand of douchebag.
What do you consider a douchebag?
There's like a few things, like a weird, like put on deep voice. Like you got to have like the physical things, right?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah, you got to be like look a certain way. Be like, hey, I want you to read at my wedding.
I want you to read at my wedding.
Yeah. Like, to your best friend who should be your, whatever the male version is, your maid of honor.
Like that Chad meme, kind of?
Yeah, Chad Tuckett.
Chad Tuckett, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not Chad Tuckett, am I?
You're not, but I think that part of you, like, is making fun of it, and then you're slowly becoming it.
Yeah, well, I can certainly act like a Chad Tuckett sometimes, although the Chad Tucketts of my day were different than the Chad Tucketts now. It just seems like Chad Tuckett is proliferating.
Of an evolution.
Yeah, but it just seems like it's everywhere, bros just being so broy on video.
Yeah, it's like this is what it is.
Bros in the past used to not ever want to videotape themselves being bros, and now everyone's just broing out, almost like trying to be famous. Bros.
You're just sounding like an old bro who doesn't understand, that things are
I
changing. But
am an old bro.
You're like a person who my teeny tiny Lacoste wearing Venezuelan cousins would watch in a movie and like try to imitate.
Oh. Thank you.
Well, yeah, and because there's obviously a language barrier there, so they don't realize that joke's on them. But you understand, like that to me is what's funny.
I kind of understand.
You really don't, huh?
No. I mean, I get it in a way. I do. I understand. Now, you said there's 3 parts to douchebag. That's one. Chad
right.
Tuckett.
So that's the voice, the way you carry yourself.
Just for the record, I want to say this is really enjoyable right now. I'm very much enjoying this, and from your facial expression, it seems like your experience is the complete opposite.
Well, one, I'm like in a corner in the room, and I
Nobody
feel
puts
it's
baby in the
also
corner.
just in a room by yourself.
I'm in
Maine
your
where no
office,
one
and you're
can
at your
hear me
office
scream.
desk, so I have not, for anyone listening,
No, but
I've not
the
placed
exit
her
is
in a corner.
behind you.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I am blocking your exit.
As I'm describing why you're a douche. It's dangerous, but yeah. So there's that. That's the physical. That's the how you sound.
Okay.
And then the thing of like, this is the thing about douches is they're good. Like right when you're like, what a douche, he knows when to like sweeten up and get like a cute twinkle in his eye, and
Sincere. He can.
Yes.
He can switch between douchery and sincerity and earnestness.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, is he just or the whole, oh, he's actually a really great guy.
I see. Yeah, Yeah.
And that you do very well. It's very funny.
I can fluctuate. Okay. That's interesting. So, and is there a third element, or is just sort of the body, and then the ability
there's so many elements to a douchebag, but yeah.
But I think it's overused at this point, to the point where I don't know what it means.
Right.
It's sort of like if you were to read a film script and be like, Jimmy, Chad Tuckett, douchebag. There's like the Saturday Night Live version of that, and then in many ways,
you're a Boston douchebag. You're a Boston prep school douchebag.
Okay.
That's what if I had to, three
Fair
words
enough.
in a script.
Okay.
I don't think you are, David. You look like you're about to cry. But that's when you let yourself go there.
Sure.
It's very amusing.
Okay, great. So it's how I landed you. I got you because of my douchery.
No, I liked you because you had sort of like a secret, Dick Van Dyke thing.
Going on. Oh yeah, what was the dog you think I'm like?
Yeah, Marmaduke.
Marmaduke.
And then
it's a clumsy, complete
lovable,
spastic idiot.
No, Marmaduke was lovely.
Didn't Marmaduke just completely trash
Well, it's just because he was so tall.
Oh. But I think he was a complete mess. I mean, right? I never really saw it, but he seemed to be causing a tremendous amount of problems for his owners. Anyway.
Yeah, I just think he was in the wrong place at the wrong. But
that
unlovable.
Marmaduke thing, I always was insulted by, but I let you keep saying it because I love you so much. So anyway, no guy wants to be considered a Marmaduke. You know what I mean? But there was another one. It was Marmaduke, and then what else? What was the other?
Oh, Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke.
Yes. Because you just seemed to me like you were going to be someone who's like wakes up and is just like, I'm so lucky, man. I'm, like, look at this face, look at this body that, more or less, I mean, come on. And that thing of just like a Dick Van Dyke.
Right.
Happy.
I didn't watch Dick, but he was just a happy guy. He had a great energy.
Yeah, he always found, the comedy and things. He was a comedy writer. I think you have it in you to be a celebratory guy, but you feel like you don't earn it. And that's just not how it works,
Oh, you mean I self-sabotage?
I think you feel like shame in being happy with things because it's like that's not how the Princeton boy, like, whatever the fuck, gets great at rowing, and it's like, who cares?
You mean you think I have to be in pain in order? I believe I have to be lashing myself and in psychic pain in order to succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting better at articulating your thoughts with my words. No, I think it's really important, all kidding aside, to be able to articulate what the other person is saying, because a lot of times...
Just another way of...
No, we have been in so many, what I would say, avoidable arguments, because I'm not doing that, and I think you mean something, and now I'm getting upset by something that I think you mean, and you didn't mean it. And if I just made sure I was receiving the information correctly, most of the unpleasantness could be avoided. And that is why this podcast is morphing from a comedy podcast to a relationship therapy podcast. Majandra, say more.
I would like to say that Say More is a wonderful segue into, we had a couples therapist who fired us. And
is that, you say that.
I'm telling you, David.
You're fired.
Not like that, because she's lovely and the best there is out there. But she was just like, guys, it's the same thing. And she did say to you that you need to say less.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to report that what our therapist said 11 years ago, it's the same thing. I'm happy to report is still the same thing.
It's the same.
And that's the name of the new podcast that we're launching, The Same Thing called. And we'll be sharing our relationship problems to the world, and the digital universe will become our therapy for free, hopefully with sponsors. No, that's a joke. Working on my jokes. You haven't laughed. I've noticed you haven't laughed once at anything I'm saying.
There you go. You gotta laugh. I did read that was like a thing before you marry someone. Like, you know how they're like, you're going to see this person ill, they're going to smell, whatever. You always read the same thing, but it did say this one, which stood out, was like, it said, the same recycled jokes as, another thing to pile on there of just like wanting to murder the person after a while.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very, very profound and very true. When you're just always hearing me say like the same.
Oh yeah,
bit.
Marriage. I mean, what is it? 13 years now. So it's like we have a lot of older couple friends, and you can just see a wife just like watching their husband shtick for the 1,287th time and just being like completely dead in the eyes while everybody chuckles. It's so funny to me. It's so funny and sad and tragic. Moving on.
Whoa.
I had a little chill.
You got a tick.
Back
suddenly.
to me.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't really gotten anywhere. What you're trying to say is my persona should be douchebag, but I should keep people on their toes and get kind of real and sensitive at times.
It's just so tricky because
I would say your persona should be who you are. Just usually most stand-ups are who they are, just exaggerated a bit.
Right, but like you don't, especially in this climate, you don't want to go out there and be a fucking monster.
That's what I mean. I mean, like, I could double pop my collar and I could roll out there and be like, "What's up, bitches?" And then just be like, "I'm a douchebag."
See, it's not even that guy. See, you're making him more masculine. Not that you're feminine, but meaning you're making him like a meathead. This is not a meathead.
Oh, it's a non-meathead douchebag.
This is, I have an $80 cream I use at night.
A rich douchebag.
Exactly.
Okay, we're getting somewhere. We're getting more specific with
it. But he's not rich, right? But he looks up to that. He's rich enough.
He's rich enough. But he's going to exude
He's going to get a
top
two-door
1%.
BMW the minute his show gets picked up.
Right, but he's going to exude top 1%.
He's going to exude top 1%. People are going to say, "Are you a Walmart Walton?" And he's not going to deny it, even though he's not.
Yeah.
I
feel you. Got you. That's interesting. Okay, so you want me to be a rich douchebag.
Yeah.
Okay, on stage. And then, so now how...
It's not even... You know what I'm talking about. You don't have to... Well, you can...
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Look, this is a subtle thing. We're talking about a deep character here. But what people are noticing, like Kevin Christie, who we're going to talk about, who's give you the artwork in your office, like he was like, I did a Comedy Store open mic, which I haven't shared with anybody. I think back on it and I shiver with shame because I wrote the whole 5 minutes in a car like an hour before. And I was just like, yeah, I'm going to do this new thing on feces because that's what Kevin said to do. And I did this bit about fecal-philiacs, and another word for fecal-philiacs is being German. And I just started ripping on Germans. I thought that was a pretty good joke. And we did get a good laugh.
Right.
But
it's like not authentic to like...
No, and it was all absurd. It was just this kind of like... I kept thinking of weird things to talk about that no one ever talks about. And everyone just is like looking... It was all just about how...
Yeah, it's just bombastic.
Yeah, it's just saying things that you don't think anyone's ever heard and thinking that'll be enough. Anyway, my point is this. Kevin afterwards was like, dude, you need to write jokes. And I was like, he was very nice about it. We had a nice dinner at Canner's, the famous deli in L.A. Anyway, and he said, and you may want to cover up your arms.
Yeah.
Now, for those who don't know me or ever meet me, I have these weird outsized arms, like where sometimes if I'm working out, my arms get like as big as my legs. I look like some weird chimpanzee. And I remember one of my nephews watching me play tennis. He's like, "Uncle Dave looks like a chimpanzee." and I was hunched over like, and so he's like, cover those arms up because it makes, and it's like this weird mysterious thing where I think people they're not on your side when you get on stage. Maybe at these like these open mics, they're a little bit more, but like people are judging you immediately how you look, and they're going, who does this guy think he is? This guy thinks he's funny. And so Kevin's point was like, just don't show off your bod in any way.
God, no. Yeah.
But then you see, Eddie Murphy rolls out in a skin-tight leather suit, just looking so sexual.
But he's such Eddie Murphy. It's
But
like
Eddie and I are
Christie.
so similar, you know what I
No, but like Kevin Christie is so Kevin Christie.
Right,
like,
right.
He's not this like malleable thing. I mean, he is because he's a great actor of our time.
Yeah.
But he really does have like a persona.
Yeah.
Just on his own. And this is what I find so interesting about you is that I feel like there's the persona that you were brought up to feel you have to do, which is always like, I'm going to disarm you and just prove that we're just the loveliest, like down to
cocktail
earth.
charm party.
Yeah, just like we're, barefoot and chill and, but it's like, then you're the same guy that like walks down the street on Larchmont and is like, oh, homeless people, You
love telling that story.
Because listen, I'm a person who is obsessed with homeless people, and that got me.
What do you mean it got you? What does that mean?
Because it's like, here's this guy who's really nice and is concerned with, seeming nice and is nice, like spends his time being like a good Marmaduke to everyone. But like he feels put out by homeless people.
Certain situations, I think everyone can relate to certain moods where you're like,
no, you go,
the seventh homeless person asking you for something. You're like, okay, like,
You said, you go, what am I supposed to do? Like, do I stop every time? It was like a neurotic musing, but it's like the opening line was, oh, homeless people, just.
Yeah, you laughed.
It made me laugh so hard.
Yeah. The cruelty. I think you've always laughed at sort of accidental cruelty.
Yeah, because it's almost like a childlike cruelty.
Yeah, like when a kid is like, that guy's
They're like,
fat.
yeah.
And you're like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in a certain circumstance, you're like, it's so pure of spirit.
Exactly.
And you did always think I was a very earnest person who had a good heart,
Yeah.
Yeah, which has changed dramatically.
Well, that's what's funny to me about you is that
Now
you've done such a great job of like imitating the douchey like guy who like on a dime goes to golf in the Bahamas with a bunch of guys from Yale that you've like become.
I don't have Yale friends. Go ahead.
Sorry, Harvard.
There you go.
That you've kind of become that guy. You know what I mean? So it's very funny to me. Like you have had full like baby fits in front of me that I don't pay enough attention to you and that I'm mean to you and you're like in full tennis whites,
Yeah, I mean, but you're just so judgy of tennis,
I love tennis.
But you're very anti. Anyway, well, this isn't about you. We can talk about you and on your stand-up podcast. This is about me. We need to stay focused. So what have I learned? Let's sum it up. We've learned it all. Now, I would say that I'm more confused now. I don't know where we stand. I don't know if...
I thought this was about your stand-up comedy.
No, it is. I'm just teasing. I'm just making dumb jokes. Okay. No, I think... Let me tell you what I'm struggling with. Is that you need something very quick. 30 seconds. Hey, how's it going, everybody? And in this first 30 seconds, you have to define who you are. And obviously, you have the visual thing helping. So if you have... But a lot of people are just wearing nondescript clothes, right? So you need to make them laugh right away, and that can easily happen when you just make some clever comment about some reality in the room. It could be the comic right before you said something. You had an idea to play off of that. You mention him, and you get a big laugh. But you want to have something in your quiver that is loaded, that's ready, that isn't so environment related, that is generally self-deprecating, and it just gives the audience this feeling of, okay, that was a good joke, that's funny, this guy doesn't take himself seriously, he's laughing at himself, it's okay to laugh at him, and it really lubes everyone up to have a good time. And it does show that you're a professional, and if you look now at almost all stand-up, they all do it. They all do it immediately. They just say something that somehow deprecates themselves and sums up their style. And so that's what we're searching for. That's what I'm asking for help on. It's not necessarily a vibe and a persona yet, because that is not something you really choose in a weird way. The audience, this is the advice I've been given by many people. The audience kind of chooses that for you, and a lot of times that's a surprise.
Yeah, what they respond to.
Yeah, and what that you start to lean into, because you're like, oh, they really like it when I'm like this guy or that, or more crass or less or nerdy or whatever. You start to form, and you don't want to pick some persona before it organically kind of developed.
Right, but you're in the process right now of having, you're trying on a few different things.
Yeah, I mean, I would say every time I get up there, and I haven't been publicizing them, I haven't been publishing these open mics because there's a part of me that just wants to like kind of show you guys a longer, I sort of have all this chapter of prior in the spring, a long break, and now we're back with more knowledge, and we're doing them, and I want to get them a little tighter before I share them. But anyway, this is all to say that I'm really searching for this self-deprecation that can kind of set the tone. And what I'm doing now is there is quite a lot of not dirtiness like blue, but it's an honesty.
It's just shit jokes.
Yeah, just shit and piss. There's an old...
And Germans.
Yeah. If it comes out of a hole, don't talk about it. If it goes into a hole, you talk about it. I think that's the rule.
But any hole can take it, right?
Well, that's a great point. But you know what I mean?
The
Like
right
piss
spirit.
and shit is not going to be funny. But sex is very...
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Or anal sex.
It's very clean sex. Got
Or
it.
mouth sex. So anyway, so that's what I'm searching for. And so physically, what do you think I could... I have a lot of ear growth, hair growth, like that
make
kind of
fun
stuff.
of yourself physically? That's so stupid,
But it's
David.
not.
It's like
Everybody
Brooke
does it.
Shields getting up there, or whatever. Like me, like, my nose hair. Like, look, you're at a deficit because of the way you look.
Okay.
And...
Keep going.
For you
Tell me more.
for you to get up there and be self-deprecating and wear a fucking flannel and be like, I have ear hair and like I have to hide my beautiful arms, like it's so stupid. Of course people are gonna hate you. I would fucking throw something at you if I was another dude.
Okay, well that's...
As a girl, they're gonna throw their underwear at you, so congratulations.
Right.
But you don't have to do
Right.
stand-up for that. So I would try just once. Mm-hmm. And this is what's tough, because this is what I find funny about you, and I don't know that this is universally funny.
Go for it. Tell me.
Is like you get up there like, what's his face? Just like a touch of American Psycho.
Like Bateman? Patrick Bateman?
It's the greed is good era. It's like that. I can't explain when you just tap into that a little, when you know that that's in the sauce that made this douchebag. It's just so funny to me. I mean, maybe that's what it is like, look, you are personally annoyed with how much you have to be careful, he loves to joke. Like,
millions of people are annoyed.
No, I know, but like right, but that doesn't annoy, exactly, so that's, there you go, there are your people. But like, you can, like, I will say something about my own people and get like a weird look where I'm like, of course, because people are so nervous they don't want to laugh, and I'm like, no, I'm allowed to say that, whatever, right?
Right. Who are your people again?
the Hispanic Latins.
Yes.
So like, even when you like to
Can
joke,
you do this interview with an accent for the rest of the way? Can you give
I
me a
am
little
doing an
bit?
accent
No,
right now.
do a little bit.
I'm doing an accent of your people.
No, I know, but
But
we
I
get
really
a little
talk
bit?
like this. At least this is how I normally talk. No, but like, you'll say my immigrant wife to people. That used to get a laugh, and now it doesn't as much. People
Well,
are like,
you are
"Oh."
an immigrant.
I know.
Yeah.
But my point, you understand? So maybe that's what your thing could be. It's just like a guy up there wearing Pete's fashion,
Pete's Fashion is made-to-measure tailor that would come into L.A., and we would all go get sport coats for less than you could buy in, like, I don't know, Brooks Brothers. It was a screaming deal because the tailors in Hong Kong obviously are, do not have good working conditions.
David, that right there is your log line. I mean, from comparing prices to Brooks Brothers to sports coats, that you were in your 20s.
I was a bachelor in Los Angeles, and look, everyone knows that dressing properly and well, like an adult and not a college student, is going to help get you laid, and is going to make you feel good.
Just so not true in LA.
No, it did though. Everyone was getting so much action
because you didn't know the other alternative. You never even tried to wear just a normal T-shirt.
Well, we were what you'd call like an East Coast expats, because
boarding school kids.
Los Angeles, for those who've never lived there, is a weird place that attracts just this wide swath of some of the lowest level people you've ever met. Desperate and sad and valueless, but also incredible people. Extremely creative, smart, fun. And in the early days, you're wandering around and you're just like, everyone feels creepy. I got nothing in common with any of these people. And then you find, some people who maybe grew up on the East Coast and, went to boarding schools. And so we started hanging out. And then you're like, oh, I feel like I now have a crew.
Exactly. And the irony is, for most women, a crew of expat boarding school guys that are buying sports coats from the Beverly Hilton
incredibly attractive
couldn't be more dangerous and feel more creepy.
That's now. Back
but
then,
no, oh, David,
attractive.
Oh my God,
incredibly
back
attractive.
Then, no. But anyway, the point is, your group is incredibly attractive, but also really sweet. That is the David Walton pond.
Right.
There's a douchiness. There's a There's a for sure one of these guys put something in my drink, and it's like, no one put anything in your drink.
No.
They're all sweet. They're all vulnerable.
Yeah.
They're all journaling. And
they're all journaling.
They're all gonna cry. One's gonna cry by the end of the night, telling everybody else how much they love them.
Yes, a lot of love.
A lot of love.
Some ecstasy, but mostly non-ecstasy.
Yeah, there was so much emotion.
Yeah, a lot of just being in touch with. But I have noticed that, not to digress, that men are increasingly comfortable expressing their love for one another. The bro love is very deep out there, and that's a new thing. That's a beautiful thing that I encourage and like to see. Just men hugging, telling them each other that they love them. We were kissing each other on the cheek back in early 2000, and that's now much more ubiquitous, but I felt like we were early adopters of that. And even though the Italians have been doing it for...
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, my people, the men kiss each other and they cry more than
the
ladies.
Yeah, so look, I'm going to take credit for everything. We're first movers on an enormous amount of things. We've set a lot of trends in motion just in a short couple years. So is that more of the vibe that you think I should be going for on stage? Is kind of a delusional, arrogant douchebag,
or maybe it's just like an aging out douche, like meaning you are frustrating. But do you know what I'm saying? Like it's more that thing of railing against what you're allowed to say, what you're not allowed to say, what you're allowed to do. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that you could speak for.
Yeah, no.
And I know a lot of people do that, but it is coming from that boarding school sect is very special.
Yeah, we have digressed, but this is helpful to me because I think ultimately I have to speak about that. Like, people ultimately, if I'm going to put together, let's say, an hour of material, you're going to talk about your life, and I got to mine the comedy of sort of this boarding school sect and what prep school is. There's a lot that can be shared that is funny with the world, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can just start your set explaining to people what fucking boarding school is.
Yeah, but they won't laugh. I think
No, but meaning it's just like setting it up.
Yeah.
And then, in you go. I have no idea. Who the fuck am I to say? But my point is...
So I want to, in an ode to Val, this is a shout out to Val, who's the manager of the Comedy Cellar in New York. She got attacked violently at the 42nd Street Times Square station. And recently there's a GoFundMe for her, so I will put the link to her GoFundMe in this podcast. Not that anyone knows Val, but I would love it if people donate any amount for her healthcare bills that are going to be extensive. But anyway, Val had said something to me as a advice, and she knows, she's good friends with Amy Schumer. She knows everybody, and she was like, just write down your life facts and write them down. The most boring ones, just write them all down. And so I did, and I'm just going to list them for you. Okay?
Oh, boy. Okay.
One of 7 kids. Grew up in Boston, but not the famous Boston for movies, the suburb boring Boston. All my sisters are all American athletes. Not all, but 2 of the 4, and the other ones were very good. All-star high school athletes. My parents are not good athletes. I grew up in a huge house. It felt normal. Kids just don't understand. I hit puberty summer after 9th grade. I was really skinny as a kid. I always wish I was stronger and bigger. Girls terrified me. I was in all-boys school, so girls always terrified me until I started going to school with them. But I wanted them so bad. I liked the girls that were advanced. I liked girls that, can you say this, sluts? Can you say that word?
Or just like fast, I guess?
Yeah, I like fast. I
thought you meant like intellectually advanced.
No, I meant fast. I was always like, why are my friends making fun of this girl for putting out? Like, that's so exciting. Then you don't have to deal with all this like neuroses about sex. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
No.
No,
No
what?
comment from her.
No, I just don't understand neuroses about sex when you're young enough to,
No, I
you
know.
know, not
You
have
love early.
neuroses.
You were
What?
huge. Early. I went to
Jeez.
I went to Brown, which is an Ivy League school, but I was ashamed because it wasn't Harvard, Yale, or Princeton. It was what me and my friends would call it the ghetto Ivy because our endowment was so small compared to all the other Ivy League schools. My sisters were all goody two shoes, and I felt enormous pressure to be good as well, like not break rules, not do drugs, not do all that stuff. So I felt like I was really letting them down when I first started smoking crack. That was actually a joke that I wrote in. That's not true. I haven't smoked crack. I would probably do it in the right circumstance. It's been a misunderstood drug. My dad was born in 1940. My mom was born in 1944. These are just facts. Are you bored?
No, the crack thing. I just don't think there's any circumstances where that's not going to be a bummer. You're gonna.
We'll talk about that off the
You're
line.
gonna want more right away.
maybe.
That's the beauty of crack.
Yeah. I'll pitch a book that is. It's called Drug Use for Grown-Ups, and it's by Dr. Hart, and it's an excellent book.
Does he talk about crack?
100%.
Oh, okay. Well, I got to read
He's
that
the head
chapter.
of neuropharmacology at Columbia, top professor who is open about his heroin use, and he does it without any ill effect on his life. Anyway, really interesting book, and will make you rethink drugs. Okay, so my parents were married, and I think she was 27. It was my mom's second marriage, and she already had 2 kids, and she was only 26. I never got spanked, but I found out this weekend that my sister and brother did from my dad.
Spanked?
Yeah.
Like put over the knee
My
and spanked?
oldest sister, yeah, and my brother.
How demeaning.
Yeah, and I never did, so I clearly something changed. My dad had a huge temper, like a scary temper, but he's a lovable teddy bear. I worked as a manny for a 6-year-old boy in Hyannisport, right next to the Kennedy compound. First job was delivering newspapers. I've worked at a camp counselor, done construction for a summer, waited tables, taught SATs. I sold knives for Cutco. I've done some extra work on a Peter Gallagher movie, played baseball and hockey for my town. I played tennis, golf, and sailed and skied. High school, I played soccer and hockey, and I rode. College, I rode for 1 year. I was in a sketch comedy troupe in college with the famous John Krasinski and many others called Out of Bounds. I was in an improv group called Spit in high school, St. Paul's Improv Theater, and I moved to New York City after college to make it as an actor. It's interesting as I say those facts, you get this little tickle that there's something there to make, there's things there, and I think Val, this is an ode to Val, who we're thinking about, is that's what she's going for, is that sometimes simple facts are interesting to people. They just want to know some little thing about you, and then what is your riff on those things? Do you agree?
I do. I think, well, at least things that people find interesting that they don't know necessarily much about.
Yeah, like any of those things, does any of them pop out as an area of exploration?
Well, I only know none of those things would I personally be like, wait, tell me more. No, because they're not that foreign to me. But I have marveled at how people respond to hearing that you went to boarding school.
Yeah.
They think it's a punishment, which is wild.
Right.
That's an interesting thing. I mean, it's crazy. The way people respond to that and the way people respond to your height is like shocking. It's just not something that I would consider until now I know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of mining. A fun story would be when that doctor felt my balls and told me I had many more years of really, really aggressive growth.
Yeah.
I won't,
Not there, just in height.
Not there, unfortunately, just in height.
The balls were already huge.
The balls were so small. He was basically like, you. I went. The story goes like this, and I'll
Maybe
say
it's
it
more
anyway.
hopeful.
I went from 5'4" to 6 foot in 1 year, and so that's 8 inches. And he felt my 8-inch dick, and he said, "You've got a lot more years of growth."
Yeah.
Now, that's not true. He pulled my pants down and he looked at my balls and he said, "You've grown 8 inches." And he didn't say based on your balls, but I knew that's what he was thinking. "You've got a few more years of this kind of growth." And he goes, "I'm looking at a minimum of 6'7", most likely 6'10", and potentially 7 feet. And I started crying. I was a hockey player. I sucked at basketball. I immediately envisioned myself as a freak with like narrow shoulders who looked like Manute Bol and would never get laid. And it really, really made me upset. And so I got in the car. I was crying all the way home. I'm a 12-year-old boy. I'm a 13-year-old boy. I can't remember. And my mom is like comforting me, and she's like, you know, all you got to do is start smoking a ton of pot, and you'll be fine. Stunt your growth. I just added that joke. She said, you don't see that. Okay, perfect example. If I was writing, I'd be like, yeah, and I'll do a little bit about my mom telling me to smoke pot.
Honestly, that's like something my mother would have said. So I was like trying to suss out.
No. But so I say that joke, and I look at you, and it's for those listening at home. It's just stone-faced, and I'm like, is this one of those things where I've said this joke before? Because I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was worthy of like at least a tickle of a smile or something.
I got excited for a second, thought that your mom
see,
really
that's
said
your
that.
issue. Yeah, you're too close to it. I know you guys at home are laughing your ass off. Anyway, so the point I'm trying to make is that's a story that you can milk, and it's something that is self-deprecating, and I could get into as a look. I've always been insecure about my height. I know it's crazy to say everyone wants to be tall, but being tall sucks, and I could talk about the various ways it sucks. You know, your dick looks smaller just relative to your body. Your knees hit the airplane seat.
You
people
can't
go,
fucking spoon with anyone.
You can't spoon. You can't 69. You can't. Well, you can 69. It just can get awkward.
No, you have to literally do a 69 in like a crunch.
Yeah. I'm
in like a C
constantly
shape.
contracting,
Yeah.
and then because I love 6, and so make it work. But
Yeah, you'd have to be on. It's really complicated.
yeah, no. I mean, I haven't done
6.
it in 14 years, but I love it, and I was just looking at your face, looking at you.
Just imagining you and Krasinski in Costa Rica just 69ing
I
the
did
fuck
go
out of each
on
other.
a vacation with just me, and that's for another time. But anyway, so my point I'm trying to make is there's a run of jokes. We're riffing here, but I think what I'm going to come away because it's time. It's over. And will you come back on the show? Has this been a pleasant experience?
Sure.
You can have a Do Less t-shirt.
It's a real undertaking what you're doing, David.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
No, it's a long journey, but
it's very impressive and really challenging.
Yep.
And I'm so anxious right now for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
No, it's just
Anxious?
Listen, it's no joke.
No, but the stakes. I mean, look, if I spend 5 years doing this,
yes, the stakes aren't real to anybody else, but it's just like it's just such a tough sort of thing to at first like understand and land on.
Yeah. It's already in failure. I think it's very fascinating. It's really hard. It sucks that you have to go and wait at open mics for an hour and a half and drive and go do them. Like I think I'm going to sign up for like a comedy camp. And I know I was warned not to do these, but there's one in LA.
Oh God.
No,
David.
not a camp, but like one where you can just get tons of reps and have people around.
But if you were recommended not to do it, then that means
that's just 2 people, by the way. And the truth is, I know what I need, and I need to be around people, and I need to be in it and immersed. And I need to be forced to be writing all the time and performing all the time.
Okay, but that might not be. This isn't like golf camp. Like
no, I know.
This might just be like going to LA for an extended period of time and hanging out.
Just relax.
With comedians.
Anyway, so. But yeah, this has been very helpful. I like that I read through the facts. There's some things there I realized that I can go try out, and we can keep building on it. But, I think my height is definitely something that would seemingly not be self-deprecable because people want to be tall, but I'm like right on the edge of tall. I really am.
You are.
And sometimes I feel like a giraffe. I look at a picture and I'm like, I look like Manute Bol. And it's like and especially I did this show called Power Ghost, and my boy Gianni is shorter than me, and like we had one scene and people were just like, holy shit. It's like Gianni looks like this yoked MMA fighter, and I look like I'm gonna blow away in the wind.
Yeah, you're like a fucking Reed.
Yeah,
Ichabod Crane.
Yeah, it just sucks. So I still have insecurities about my height, and I got to figure out a way to just maybe that's a good way to start, and then and then then the vibe, the persona, that's stuff that I'll wait on, but I'll certainly experiment with coming out with a bit more of an arrogant vibe. Let's just call it that for the sake of the douchebag parsing. More arrogant, more like owning it, and more like, you know what, this is my stage, and like I'm gonna go. But I'll just test it because why not? That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I hope you enjoyed this. I really do thank you, Majandra. This is as much as we struggle to have a conversation with our kids around.
Ugh.
It's so annoying.
It's just wild.
I think we may have found a way to actually have a fun, substantive conversation because we just go.
Or we just try to find your flaws.
yeah.
So
I
terrible.
could do this all the time. We've got so many more to cover. But if you enjoyed this, and you can find, were you pitching anything? You want to plug anything before we leave?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I thought you meant pitch. No.
You want to plug anything to the huge starting stand-up audience?
No. If anything, I'd like you to change my voice and say I'm a different person.
Why?
Can you do that? No, I'm kidding. I'm
Okay.
kidding. I'm so proud to be on this.
Oh, okay. Good. Well, I appreciate it, and I've got a Wakinichi T-shirt, a Do Less T-shirt, which is my mantra in life. Everyone's doing too much. So, yeah, thank you.
There's a ripping storm.
How about some Venery?
What the fuck is that?
Inside joke. All right.
Is that your sign off?
Yeah, a little bit. All right.
Work on that.
This is genius. All right.
Bye.
Bye now. Well, I'm very pleased to report that I taught my wife very hard and very deeply what Venery means. Yeah, dude. Woo! Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. How gross is it hearing about married people? Sex lives. I think it's just universally gross, and I do apologize. But I have to shout out a dear friend of mine, high school, named Brad. And Brad sent me a text message, which I'll share with you. Brad had listened to my interview with Jeremy Sisto, which I've been getting a lot of great feedback from. People really enjoyed it. If you haven't listened to it, go back. It's the previous episode. I loved it. I had to listen to it to figure out what this week was going to be. And I usually just hear the end, kind of skip through it, and I just loved it. I just love hearing Jeremy talk. And so a lot of people reached out to tell me how much they enjoyed it. So if you haven't listened to it, go on back, give it a listen. So Brad listened to it. My shout out to Brad Aston. And he said, just listen to the latest. It's a treat. But stop wishing us great lovemaking. So creepy. And then I wrote LOL, as I just did. I write LOL when I laugh out loud. And I said LOL, but I do wish that for you so much, Venery Palsky, which is my cute little nickname. And then he writes, I'm having a good laugh, and then you start cooing about your listeners having intercourse. You should do a bit about all your podcast feedback. That was his final note. Well, look at me. See that? You give me feedback, we put it in. I want to thank my wife. I want to thank her for interviewing me, and for most importantly, celebrating the power of Venery directly after the interview. Once again, I wish all of you tremendous peace, love, adventure, safety, extremely important, health, and always Venery. See you next week.